Thanks to everyone for attending today. This is an exciting day for the University of Regina Rams football program. We're thrilled to have found an exceptional person and leader, and we're really excited to introduce him to everyone today. Before I do that, I do want to take this opportunity to thank a few people. To begin with, I want to thank Dr. Harold Reamer, Dean of Kinesiology and Health Studies, and Dan Johnston, President of the Rams, for their leadership and support throughout this process. I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to the other members of the hiring committee, Dr. Kim Dorsch, Brian Eltham, Aidan Feger, Steve Tunison, and Brandy West McMaster. This group of people gave a considerable amount of their personal time to do a thorough search because they care deeply about our student athletes, our football program, and this university. So thank you so much to all those folks. Now I'd like to introduce you to the new head coach of the University of Regina Rams. Stephen Bryce is a Regina native and played for the Regina Rams junior program. He went on to a 4-year playing career at Jamestown College and then joined the high school coaching ranks in California, where he spent the next 15 years, 7 as a head coach. When he took over as a head coach there, he inherited a team that came off an 0-10 season, and he took a systematic approach to building the team into a championship program that was well respected throughout the state. Most importantly, he's credited with promoting academic success amongst his student athletes there. While coaching high school, he showed an ability to develop talent and move athletes on to higher levels, some of whom are now playing in the NFL. He's been described not only as a football leader, but also as an academic leader. So these are obviously both vital components for us building our program here. Above all else, he's a man of character with a passion for coaching, for learning, and for developing student athletes. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the new head coach of the University of Regina Rams, Stephen Bryce.
First off, I'd like to thank the committee and the executives and all of the support from the alumni and my friends and my wife for your support in welcoming me home to be a coach of the Regina Rams, a team that has meant a lot to me growing up. It's a team that I aspired to be a part of as a player in high school, and throughout my coaching staff, I looked forward for the opportunity and even to only dream about an opportunity to coach this outstanding, storied organization. So thank you very much. This team, when I looked at it last year and I had an opportunity to go to a bunch of games, I saw the raw material for what could be a championship team. I saw the skill and the talent and the effort of a team that was on the precipice of greatness. And I think I really feel good about the hand that I've been dealt as a coach coming into this situation, that we can do something special here together. Thank you.
Open for questions, guys, to any of the three?
Steve, you've described this as your dream job. What makes it that for you?
It's a team that really made me the person that I am. I am the man that I am today because of the Regina Rams in the first place, and the mentorship and the tutorship and the guidance that I had throughout my time here as a player. My extended family became the Regina Rams when I became a part of it in 1987. And it gave me a drive and a focus. And I wouldn't have gone on to school in the first place to earn my degree in the first place if I didn't have that desire that I learned about football when I played for the Rams. And I went on and played at Jamestown. I earned my Bachelor of Arts in Biology and just became a student because of the things that I learned here and things that I became because of my participation with the Regina Rams and my just being a part of this family.
What brought you back to Regina, Steve?
Well, my wife and I decided to move our family back here. It was really early in 2012. I just finished coaching football. We'd made the decision, and I resigned from coaching high school football, and I stayed on as the interim coach until they brought in a replacement. And in that time, it was we did a T-chart, and we looked at the reasons to stay and reasons to go in California. Of course, we love the weather. The weather is incredible, and the level of football that I was coaching was outstanding. I don't think you get better high school football anywhere in the world than what we were coaching in the Baseline League in California. The area that we were living in, it changes over the years. It was a beautiful area that we lived in, and we just noticed that the crime had gone up a little bit, and there was just some instances. I had 2 football players that got robbed at gunpoint when they were coming to school, and just for their phones. And just there was more and more of that and less of the actual coaching going on. And when our first daughter was born, we made the decision that, maybe Canada's a good place to raise our kids. So we just bit the bullet and did what we had to do as far as the immigration process for my wife. And in that time we were in that process, we got pregnant again. And so we had to add the paperwork with Canadian immigration since we'd already made the decision that we're going to move. So I went back to school part-time after I had resigned from coaching and earned a second degree because I didn't know that that Canada had a policy where they took all your years of service for teaching, and I learned that when I came back. So I just thought I'd give myself an insurance policy by having a second degree, which was fun anyways. I would have done it for fun. And then the whole time I was down there, I'd have to be honest that all of my best friends were still here, and it really became evident to me when I would come back to visit that my best friends, I had good friends in California too, my best friends were here and they were all wearing green. I just think of the times that I've been out since I got back. I think the only regret that I have about coming back to Regina now is that I didn't do it sooner. I was away a total of 23 years, and I come back and my friends made it feel like I never left.
What kind of memories come flooding back now that you see that R behind you and your time here with the team?
I walked in this room with Gary this morning, Gary Urin, and I got shivers thinking about all of the things that this room and what this room represents and this organization represents and the number of people that have been involved over the years with this organization. The absolute highest quality people in Regina have come through this organization. Some of the pillars of our community are part of this and have been part of this organization. So it really just makes me feel proud, humbled to be the steward of this great team and great organization now. And I just hope that my dream is to have a long, fruitful relationship with the Regina Rams.
Stephen, what do you anticipate will be the learning curve for you coming into university ball in Canada?
Yeah, there's a learning curve no matter where you go. As far as the translation between the X's and O's between the U.S. game and Canadian game, that I've already taken care of that in a number of ways. Like I coached high school football here before I left. I was a assistant coach at Riffle before I went to the U.S. in the first place, and I came back and I've been coaching RMF. And then with the selects, we went down to Texas and played American football. But the translation between the two games has a lot less to do with what being a football coach is in the first place. You know, a football coach is somebody who builds their team based upon sound fundamentals of character, discipline, and fundamentals, and surrounding the players with the best possible coaches that I can find. And we've already started that process, and I think we surround these players with outstanding coaches and we hold them to the highest standards possible. I don't think there's going to be much of a learning curve. I've got people around me that I can depend on, rely on to get through that learning curve pretty quickly. I feel that I'm a pretty bright person. I feel like I'm a quick learner, and I know there's going to be a curve, but I think I'm going to be on top of it.
Have you had a chance to talk to the players yet?
No, we're meeting today, and I'm looking forward to it. I have met a few of them that have coached with me. With the selects, we were practicing out at Moose Jaw, so there's probably a handful, 6, 7 of the players, and I got along great with them. They're fantastic to work with. I'd say every young man that I've worked with that's a Regina Ram right now, I'd say is a super high caliber, high quality, great person to work with, and they're part of the reason that I really wanted to go after this job.
What is it about this profession that made you want to get into it even at the high school level and then coming back here?
That had to do with a lot of the mentorship that I had with the Regina Rams in the first place. Jerry Orban was my position coach, and he was like my second father, if you will, as far as teaching me everything that I needed to know about football. And I really liked his approach. He was a teacher first, coach second, and I kind of adapted that persona as a coach and a teacher as well. I only got into teaching in the first place because I wanted to keep coaching. I dabbled in coaching at Riffle when I was a player in the Rams, and after I was done playing at Jamestown, I went on to teach in order to keep coaching. And I just found in my experiences in hiring and surrounding my team down there with the best possible people that I could, that I always found that the best coaches are also the best teachers. Because Because a lot of the principles that make you a great teacher, a great communicator, a great interpreter of information to various levels, those things are equal if you're a teacher or you're a coach.
Curtis, Dad, why Stephen?
Well, I think as we worked through the process, we had a lot of qualified applicants for the job, and each step of the way, Stephen was in the mix initially, and he was a name that actually came up early on in the process. I didn't know a lot about him. Some others on the committee knew a little bit more. But it seemed each step of the process, he impressed us. We went through the initial interview. We actually had a phone conversation early on. I was impressed with what I heard. Then we were down to, I guess, 5 or 6 at that point, and went through another interview. And we were really impressed with his vision and what this program meant to him. You could tell he cared deeply about this position, and as Ian said, described it as his dream job. As we learned more and more about him, I was really drawn to his passion for learning. He talked about how he went back later and got a 2nd degree. He even mentioned in the interview he's considering a 3rd degree somewhere down the road. I really appreciated his passion for learning. And when we started reaching out to others that knew more about him, some of the reference checks, it became clear that he had outstanding character, which is obviously important at this level. He was described in a couple of different ways to me, and one was as and obviously a leader on the football field, but also his principal at his former high school described him as an academic leader as well, which really impressed me. And then as we went through the process, he just continued to rise and impress the committee as we went, and we were thrilled when we brought him in for his interview and had a chance to spend the day with him and hear a little bit more about his vision around the program, where we think he can take it. When he took over the high school program, they were coming off a winless season, and he talked about his systematic approach in that context to getting rid of some parts of the team or behavior that may have been more destructive, implementing discipline, a real focus on academics, not losing players to eligibility, and really building this program over a period of time and moving players on to a higher level. And all that entire package was really appealing to us.
Steve, what's your biggest immediate challenge?
I think, well, that really goes to what my goals as a coach here are going to be. My goal is to become the best recruiter in Canada. That's what I'm setting out for myself to become. And I think as far as what our biggest challenge right now is, we have to recruit some outstanding athletes. We got to stop the flow of the top athletes of Regina from heading to other places. We need to become a destination for the outstanding athletes instead of somebody who's a second thought. So I want to start recruiting, and I want to start recruiting yesterday. That's number one. And then the players that we have here, and they're already instilled in a great off-season workout program, an academic program, and I want to keep going with that. I want to develop that even further, like take those steps and take them a little bit further and see, let's see how many of our kids how many of our men that we can get to be academic all-Canadian. 6 is good, but 16 is way better. So my goal right now is to challenge players at everything they do. The whole Vince Lombardi about winning. It's not a part-time thing, it's an everyday thing. Winning becomes a habit, and unfortunately so does losing. So we need to win the classroom, we need to win the weight room, and then we need to win the practice field. And if we can instill the will to prepare for our football players, and that will be effective throughout their life, we won't have challenges when it comes to the Friday night and Saturday afternoon games, because our players will be prepared.
Is your staff complete?
It's on its way. I have Mark McConkey is going to be my offensive coordinator, and Sheldon Gray is going to be my defensive coordinator. I've met with them both. They're both outstanding young men. I think they're both going to be great leaders on this football team. I'm really looking forward to working with them and seeing what we can come up with together. And together I'm collaborating with them to fill in all the position coaches.
It sounds like it was a bit of a culture shock for the players a year ago when Mike took over for Frank, kind of thing. You already touched on it a little bit, but what can the players expect from you? I guess not just in the locker room, on the practice field, and that sort of thing.
Well, I know from my rapport with my players in the past that I am considered a player's coach, but I'm also considered a disciplinarian. If you were to ask one of my former players what they thought of me, they would say that he says what he means and he means what he says. And when I tell players I'm going to hold them accountable, that I do. So I don't think there's going to be a culture shock, because I think there's been a pretty good disciplinary program that's already installed here at the University of Regina with the Rams, and I plan on continuing that. I I like to get hands-on with the players. I like to work out with them. I like to be there in their study sessions. I like to tutor them myself if I can do something to help. And if it's something I can't help them with, I'm going to find somebody who can. So, you know, as a coach, you wear a ton of hats. You're a counselor, you're an uncle, you're a friend. You just wear a ton of different hats, and I'm willing to wear those hats and do what I need to do to be the best coach that I can possibly be. You know, coach to me is a moniker that it means it goes above and beyond teacher. It goes above and beyond father figure. Coach to me is almost a reverent term. That, you know, I've had some great mentors and coaches in my life, and that word to me means a lot. And if I can live up to what I think that word means, and if I can instill that in my players, that they think those things when they say the word coach to me, I'll know that I've done a good job.
Steve, there's a belief that some of the culture of this organization was lost last year. Is that something you can restore, having played with the organization?
I think so. I think the Regina Rams and now the University of Regina Rams, there is a winning culture here. There was an expectation. When we took the field when I was a player, it was expected not just that we win, but that we win big. And we had that expectation of ourselves, and everyone in the community and in the city of Regina expected that. We would go to other places, and they expected us. It wasn't going to be, are you going to beat the Colts? Are you going to beat the Hilltops or the Huskies? It's how much are you going to beat them by? We need to get back there. Like I said, that winning, it needs to permeate everything that we do. We need to hold ourselves accountable. I will always see eye to eye with players. We will never come to odds as long as my expectations for the players are the same as their own. We only have differences when we have differences of expectations. And a lot of times, you'll have every great player has been backed by a really great coach who pushed them really hard. And I'm not going to let them fall back into apathy and complacency. So the culture of winning is going to be something that we reinstall here. We're not going to be intimidated by other teams like University of Calgary just because we haven't beaten them a lot in the past. I don't care. I love the David and Goliath story. I love being the underdog. There was a season where we won league championships, where we were the underdog in every game during league for 5 games in a row, and we ended up going 4-1 and winning league that year. So we were 21-point underdogs to Upland High School. We're the 2-time defending champs, and we beat them in their house. So I love that role of the underdog, and I hope that teams, when we start the season, look past us. I hope that they are already expecting that the U of R is going to be a W in their column, and then we'll change their minds as the season goes on.
How important was the alumni factor in the hiring process?
Is that to me or Curtis?
Yeah, it was never a discussion we had as a search committee early on. We set out in this process to find the best person for the job. And but I will say that there's a lot of benefit that comes with that. Absolutely. And I think if you ask a lot of the successful programs in the country, there's a high level of alumni support, high level of alumni engagement. But it was never a criteria that we set out at the start of the process. And when we got down to the final 5 or 6, it was clear at that point that they were all good football people. They all knew the game well. They all knew the X's and O's. And really at that point we were assessing fit, trying to find the best fit for where this program is right now. And Steve obviously brought a lot of what we were looking for at that point.